Feel the February cold, hear the marching feet of the soldiers of blue and gray, and see the tears of this orphan as he kneels to pray. Jim Limber is his name. The fever took his parents when he was only 5 years old. An orphan's life was all he had, cold, hungry, and alone. Verena Davis rescued him from a guardian's brutal blows and brought him to her family and gave him brand new clothes. He lived in the Confederate White House with Maggie, Jeff, and Joe. Then he vanished in the past when the Yankees made him go. As I walked along by the river, I heard a young boy's voice calling me from the darkness, and I stopped. I had no choice. In the darkness there I listened to tiny footsteps drawing near, and a young black child stood before me, and I saw him wipe a tear. "Who are you, son?" I asked him. He looked me in the eye. "I'm Jim Limber Davis," he said. Or was, until I died. I lived in the Confederate White House with Maggie, Jeff, and Joe, adopted into the Davis clan, so I loved them so. A Yankee took me here one night, put his foot up on my chest, and pushed me to the river's bottom. I guess you know the rest. "The river's cold here, mister. Are they going to drown you too? This here's a place of death for me and some other few. Why did those Yankees hate me? Was it because that I was black? I was happy where I was, but now I can't go back. I was too young to understand war, but I see things better now, and I know the evil of men's hearts and how to read a frown." He looked down at the river as if he were lost in thought. Then he turned and left me in the darkness, left me there distraught. One of the South's forgotten children, whose story we must proclaim, a little orphaned ghost who haunts this earth, and Jim Limber is his name. And that's the story of Jim Limber. A story that I think needs to be told, you know. This book, when I wrote it, the book started actually with the epigraph that's in the book that opens up with, "Walt Whitman was a Yankee nurse during the Civil War, one of America's greatest poets, and he said this about the Civil War that he was serving in as a nurse. He said, 'The real war will never get in the books.' There was something about the war he saw that he knew people weren't going to tell. And so I've kind of taken it on myself to try to tell the stories that have been left out of the history books. You know, I tell the story of Stonewall Jackson's Black Sunday School and how in 1855, Virginia, when it was illegal to do so, and unpopular certainly, Stonewall Jackson started a Sunday school for black Americans in Lexington, Virginia with the Lexington Presbyterian Church. They met at 3 o'clock every Sunday afternoon. He taught them to read, gave them Bibles, taught them their catechism, and out of that Sunday school came some of Virginia's most influential community leaders, educators, and pastors. One of those pastors raised from the black community in Virginia funds to build a stained glass window in his church, the 5th Avenue Presbyterian Church in Roanoke, Virginia, that honors Stonewall Jackson, has his last words on it, "Let us cross over the river." And that window's still in existence. Yeah. And I'm just wondering how many people in Roanoke know about the story of that window. I mean, it's kind of sad how we're losing our history, and that's what makes what we're doing here today so very, very important. Because if you and I lose the history of the Valley, there's no one left to tell those stories. There's no one left to find those things. You know, to honor our ancestors, to honor the people that paid the price to build the Valley, to honor those who served in that war. It's largely, so much of it's largely a forgotten war, and the war in this part of the Valley is really a largely forgotten part that we need to do. Now let me show you some interesting things here. I'm big on flags in my school programs that I go to schools with. I go in costume. I take both uniforms. You know, I was a Civil War reenactor, and so I have my Yankee uniform and my Confederate uniform. And at these battles, sometimes I'm a Yankee if they don't have enough Yankees, and sometimes I'm a Confederate, you know, depending on what they need. We call it living history. And we call it that because we try to do things like they did. We dress like they did. We eat like they did. We sleep like they did. We march like they did. And I like in my school programs to use a lot of flags. Now let's see here. Hey, Cub Scout, would you come help me? Yeah. We'll get you in the movies here. What's your name? Pierre. It's good to meet you. All right. Now, this flag is of a South Texas company called the Magnolia Rangers. Now, Texas didn't succeed until March. They made the decision to succeed in February, but they officially didn't succeed until second. But this company was formed in January of 1861. So they kind of knew what was happening. And if you look up the Magnolia Rangers on the internet, you can find a company history of them. And by the way, if you think you have a Civil War ancestor, if you will email me their name and the state that they were living in at the time, I can probably find them for you, tell you what battles they were in, and things like that. This is the flag of the Magnolia Rangers. Okay? See that there? I'm going to do another one.
Oh.
This flag is the flag of the most famous cavalry unit in Civil War. It's Terry's Texas Rangers. Now, they really weren't Rangers. They just called themselves that, you know. But they were very famous. They were in over 230 battles in the Civil War. Okay? And they were the only cavalry unit to defeat an infantry army. They did it twice. Now, they were so good that they were the only cavalry unit in the Confederacy also that weren't required to bring their own horses. They were provided horses. There's a ad that I found. I couldn't find it in time, but it's going to be on the PowerPoint and the DVD and things. I'm going to send the Historical Commission to show you later. A poster advertising them to show up, and they wanted them to show up with their shotgun or small carbine, Bowie knife, and pistols. See, they didn't use sabers. They preferred the shotguns and the pistols. You know, they had like 4 or 6 pistols on them at a time. But this is Terry's Texas Rangers. Great stories associated with them. This, of course, the flag of the 6th. Of the 6th Texas Infantry. This would be the Hood Brigade. Now, Hood's brigade left Texas with 5,000 men, and only 500 of them returned. So they really paid the price in the war. And of course, our Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas, is named after him. And there's Hood County and other things. But this is a very famous unit. The unit, I think, had 82% losses at Antietam, and 9 flag bearers died that day, one after the other, you know, in that cornfield there. So this is a flag, and I believe every flag has a story. And I'm searching, and I will find, I guarantee you, I'll find some flags that were unique to the Rio Grande Valley. Thank you, Pierre. Very good. So that's part of the research that I do as well. Let's see if I can get... Yvette, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you come out here?
Yes, sir.
Can you come help me a second?
Sure.
Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to show you something about life during the Civil War. And here's your fan. All you have to do is fan yourself look pretty for a second, okay? So do that. Now, this was the air conditioning in the valley during the Civil War. And girls had their fans. They liked it, especially for parties. It was just part of their attire. And they had different kinds of fans. They had pretty ones like this. They had wooden ones like this. The wooden ones were called friendship fans. Because if Yvette had one of these and liked you, she would either write your name or have you sign your name on one of the vanes of the fan. You would then be a member of, and this is where the phrase came from, her fan club. Now, if you're ever in Fort Worth, you need to go to the Texas Civil War Museum there, and they have one of those friendship fans on display. Now, but what's really neat about fans in this time period is that girls developed a secret language with the fan. Okay? It was the text messaging of their day. You know how fast kids can text message? And that's why when you watch a Jane Austen movie or something, and you see a girl changing hands and she's doing these things, she's talking to her friends in the fan language, and the costume designer knows that and has built that into the script. I'm going to give you some examples of this. For example, put it in your left hand and fan yourself real big and slow. And open it up real big and slow. Real big and slow. Now we're going to pretend there's some guys over here in the front row that are flirting with her. Okay? And she starts doing this. What she's telling her friends by doing this is, these guys flirting with me are such losers. All right? Now, let's say we're at a party and she wanted my help to drive the loser boys away. She would cover her face and turn to me, you know, and ask me, and I'd come and run the loser boys away, you know. Now put it in your right hand and close it. Now, if she wanted to get somebody's attention, she would look at them and go, like that. Now, let's just say that she got angry at someone. Girls do get angry sometimes, don't they? Yeah, they would do like that, look mean and go at this and go, like, I can't believe I brought you in here to do that. You know, all right? Now, open it up in the right hand and touch your heart. If Yvette did this and looked at a guy, this is saying, oh, I have such a crush on him. Okay. Now, touch your lips like that. If she did this and looked at a guy, she's saying, oh, would I like to kiss him? Now, however, if she did this, now kind of look at me and scowl and go like that. If she did this and looked at a guy, she's saying, he is so ugly. Now, if you do an internet search on the language of the fan, you'll learn more about what girls were doing with these fans that we see in the movies. All right? Now, very good. So thank you. Let's have a hand for it. But I'm not done with the fan yet. I need, you come up. Now tell me your name. No, the girl. Yeah, I don't want any guys up here. Betty, that's right. Okay. Stand over here. Now you may know her as Betty, but that's not her